farmers across Brazil brace for a silent invasion. Thousands of wild boars storming their fields like a relentless tide of destruction. These tusked beasts tear through soy and corn, leaving behind nothing but chaos and loss. But instead of guns or traps, the farmers fought back with something simpler: a trench. What started as a desperate experiment has now become one of the most effective defenses against nature's most unstoppable invader. This is how a line of dirt reshaped the battle between man and boar and changed farming forever. They arrive quietly, without warning or pattern. No lights, no sounds, only the low grunts echoing through the night fields. By dawn, the evidence is clear. Rows of destroyed crops, broken irrigation lines, and deep hoof tracks pressed into the soil. This isn't a natural disturbance. It's an organized invasion of wild boars. Across the farmlands of southern Brazil, these animals have become one of the most destructive agricultural threats in modern history. And local farmers have started responding in the most practical way imaginable: by digging. The idea is simple but effective. Instead of relying on expensive electric fences or constant gun patrols, farmers are now constructing deep trench systems, physical barriers that take advantage of gravity, soil density, and the animals' own behavior. The concept sounds old-fashioned, but it works. These ditches, some stretching several kilometers, have turned into a large-scale experiment in low-cost wildlife control. The wild boars, once unstoppable, now find themselves facing a natural obstacle they can't easily overcome. For decades, wild boars have multiplied rapidly across rural Brazil. Originally introduced through game farms and crossbreeding with domestic pigs, they adapted faster than anyone predicted. With an omnivorous diet and no serious predators, their population surged. They travel in groups, known as sounders, tearing through soy, corn, and cassava fields. A single night's raid can destroy months of agricultural work and cost thousands of dollars in damages. In regions like Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná, farmers had no choice but to innovate. And they did. The trench design follows simple geometry. Each ditch is approximately 2 meters deep and 3 meters wide, with side walls angled just enough to prevent collapse. Excavators carve them out using GPS-guided precision to ensure consistent depth and gradient. The displaced soil is piled along the edge, creating an additional earthen berm that doubles as a flood control structure. In some areas, farmers use local clay to compact the sides, making it harder for rain to erode the walls. What started as a defensive experiment is now considered a critical part of modern Brazilian farm management. In communities where farmers pooled their resources, the results have been remarkable. Within months of completing the trenches, wild boar incidents dropped by nearly 90%. Damage reports went down, crop yields increased, and maintenance costs declined sharply. Instead of dealing with constant fence repairs or lost harvests, the farmers now invest in trench maintenance only once or twice per season. The initial digging cost may seem high, but in comparison to the cumulative losses of previous years, it's a fraction of the price. These results aren't limited to one region. Similar networks of trenches have appeared in neighboring areas, forming long, continuous barriers between farmland and forest. Farmers often use natural drainage lines and small streams as part of their design, turning topographical disadvantages into assets. During the wet season, the trenches act as water channels, reducing flood damage and keeping soil nutrients from washing away. In the dry months, they remain as barriers that redirect wildlife toward forested areas with natural food sources. Building these moats requires coordination and accuracy. Before digging begins, surveyors map out the terrain with drones and ground-penetrating sensors. This prevents accidental damage to underground pipelines or irrigation lines. A single mistake could cost hundreds of thousands in machinery damage, so every dig follows a carefully plotted plan. Reflective markers, warning lights, and steel plates allow vehicles to cross safely during the day. At night, the crossings are sealed to prevent animals from entering. Farmers have turned ordinary soil management into a precise engineering operation. Maintenance remains critical. Heavy rain can wash away trench walls if they aren't reinforced properly. Some farmers use concrete linings in key sections or install drain pipes to redirect water flow. In hilly terrain, trenches require stabilizing ridges to prevent landslides. In flatter regions, they're easier to maintain, often serving double duty as stormwater channels. A few communities have begun experimenting with solar-powered monitoring devices, sensors that detect movement near the trench and send alerts to farmers' phones. Wildlife experts have taken notice too. Biologists tracking tagged boars have observed how the animals respond to these barriers. When facing a trench, most sounders attempt to cross once or twice before retreating. The steep sides and loose soil make escape difficult, and their natural caution prevents repeated attempts. Over time, the boars adjust their migration routes, avoiding the areas entirely. This behavioral adaptation has created localized safe zones where crops can finally grow without nightly destruction. However, the solution isn't without challenges. In some areas, erosion and poor marking have caused accidents involving farm equipment. There have been cases where tractors partially slid into soft trench areas, prompting farmers to install additional guardrails and reflective boundaries. Others have reported that if the trench remains dry for too long, it can become a habitat for small pests or weeds. Regular upkeep is essential, and local cooperatives now schedule joint maintenance days where all farmers contribute labor and machinery to keep the trench system functional. What makes this approach so appealing is its simplicity. No electricity, no ammunition, no chemical risk to livestock or water sources. Just soil, machines, and human ingenuity. The trench method has also become a model for other regions facing similar invasive species issues. In parts of Argentina, Paraguay, and even the southern United States, agricultural experts are studying Brazil's ditch defense system as a potential alternative to costly fencing or culling programs. Technology is quietly enhancing the idea further. Some farms are integrating trench monitoring with digital management platforms. By embedding fiber optic cables along the trench floor, they can detect vibration or movement, a kind of rural alarm system that notifies farmers when animals approach. Others have installed small motion-triggered cameras to record wildlife behavior, helping researchers understand long-term effects on local ecosystems. The combination of old-world earthwork and new-age sensors is proving to be surprisingly effective. Economically, the numbers speak for themselves. Across several cooperatives, the Trench Initiative has saved millions in combined repair and loss costs. Crop yields have improved by more than 15% annually in protected zones. Insurance claims have dropped, and farmers have regained control over production schedules. The impact goes beyond economics. Communities that once struggled with constant destruction now experience stability. For many, the trenches symbolize resilience, a physical reminder that low-cost, locally managed solutions can outperform high-tech defenses when adapted intelligently. The environmental implications are also notable. Traditional countermeasures like poison or traps often harm non-target species and disrupt ecosystems. Trenches, by contrast, create a defined boundary without introducing toxins or hazards. Over time, vegetation along the edges grows naturally, stabilizing the soil and blending the barrier into the landscape. Some farmers even plant fast-growing grasses along the slopes to reduce erosion and support small wildlife that poses no threat to crops. Still, experts continue to caution that the trench is not a permanent solution. Wild boars are highly adaptive. Over years, they may find ways around or through these barriers, especially where natural terrain weakens them. Regular evaluation and modification are crucial. In some places, farmers combine trench systems with selective hunting or trap corridors to manage population pressure. The idea isn't elimination, it's control through design and balance. Looking ahead, agricultural engineers are exploring ways to automate trench upkeep entirely. Concepts include small self-draining maintenance, vehicles equipped with compact rollers, soil sensors, and patching tools. These machines could operate during off hours, repairing weak spots and keeping the barrier functional year-round. It's not science fiction. Prototypes already exist in experimental farms where technology meets traditional methods. In regions where the system is fully implemented, the change is visible. Soy and cornfields, once devastated by wild boars, now stretch undisturbed to the horizon. Farmers report fewer night patrols, less fuel spent on deterrence, and more predictable harvest cycles. Local cooperatives, once fragmented by constant loss, now work together to expand and link their trench networks, forming a regional line of defense that continues to grow each year. This approach is shaping how rural communities think about protection. It's not about fighting nature, it's about redirecting it. By using terrain, physics, and observation, these farmers have turned the environment itself into a barrier. Each trench represents hundreds of hours of planning, cooperation, and determination, proving that innovation doesn't always require technology. Sometimes it just requires a shovel and a strategy. Wild boars remain one of agriculture's most formidable challenges, but for the first time in decades, the farmers aren't losing ground. Their new weapon isn't mechanical or chemical, it's practical. Across the landscape, under the open Brazilian sky, the network of trenches continues to expand. It's quiet, efficient, and entirely built by human hands. The boars may adapt again one day, but for now, the farmers have reclaimed their fields, their harvests, and their peace of mind.